Mace Windu wore standard Jedi robes, as did most of the Jedi Order, but Anakin Skywalker, the Jedi he kinda disliked, wore mostly brown blackish attire. There was something to be said about that attire. Of course, out of universe, we know that George Lucas was hinting at the darkness that is coming from Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One. Also, we had some other clothes, like Luminara Unduli and her apprentice Barriss Offee. They had some darkness going on as well there, some dark clothing, so it did match with the rest of the Jedi Order wore. But in today's video, we're going to tackle the all-dark robing, the most controversial clothes that I think have existed in Star Wars, and that is Luke Skywalker's clothes from Return of the Jedi onwards until the Star Wars sequels. Even though Obi-Wan meets Luke in Return of the Jedi again as a Force ghost, it was Yoda who first saw him with this all-black clothing in Return of the Jedi, and it honestly must have been probably alarming knowing full well how Anakin dressed before his dark days came, before he became a Sith. You have to wonder if both Yoda and Obi-Wan thought the same thing when they saw like father, like son wearing dark clothing. We're going to talk about both the in-universe and out-of-universe explanations. So let's start with the in-universe one. First of all, who's to say in the original trilogy how the Jedi actually dressed themselves? What was an appropriate Jedi attire? If you're thinking Obi-Wan Kenobi, old Ben Kenobi, and what he wore, this is what he actually wore in the Jedi Order days, this was not known back in the day. In fact, Luke had no idea that Obi-Wan was wearing Jedi robes. He thought that he was just wearing his hermit robes because, as a matter of fact, Uncle Owen also wears kind of the same thing. And this is what I mean. Who's to say what is appropriate Jedi attire? By all accounts, Luke is doing nothing really suspicious by wearing black clothing in Return of the Jedi. He could have thought that this is what most Jedi wore back in the day, and you can't really fault him because his clothes are pretty much comfortable. They have no cape, they have nothing that you need to drag on. It is just black shirt and pants with a belt in the middle. Also, I think one more thing that I have speculated during the years is that Luke wore all black robes on purpose, both during his meeting with Jabba and knowing full well that he's gonna surrender himself to his father Darth Vader, who is gonna present him before the Emperor. He was doing this tactfully because, believe it or not, black robes are often associated with a more advanced level of Jedi training. Luke's choice to wear them may signify his level of mastery and his readiness to confront Darth Vader and the Emperor. Overall, the color black can represent power and authority, which Luke may have wanted to project as he faced the leaders of the Empire. So, in a sense, Luke was posturing before these two Imperial leaders. Also, of course, he wanted to seem threatening before Jabba too. Now, let's talk about the out-of-universe explanation and what I think George Lucas wanted to do with the character of Luke Skywalker. Going back to A New Hope, this is what actually Luke wears during the majority of the movie up until the end where he gets his medal. It is very white and innocent. He is a young boy. He understands mostly nothing. All he wants is adventure, and he doesn't really understand the consequences of the hero's journey, where he is about to end up. He is bored with the life he has on Tatooine as a moisture farmer, and he wants more action in his life, again not understanding the consequences and how that puts a target on your back. Now we move to Empire Strikes Back. You clearly see the difference. He is still wearing the beige earth tone colors, but now they seem to be more worn off. Luke seems to have gone through a transformation. He has experienced something, but he's still white underneath. And he goes through Empire Strikes Back understanding more and more up until the end where he finally learns the real truth that Darth Vader is his father. And now to subvert both A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, here comes Return of the Jedi. Throughout the trilogy, Luke's clothing have gone through a transformation. From A New Hope to Empire Strikes Back getting dimmer, darker. Now it is completely dark. He is wearing all black, including a black glove on his hand. It's of course a visual representation of Luke's adventure and personal growth. In episode 4, Luke is innocent and untouched by the evil Empire. He doesn't really understand or appreciate the kind of adult responsibilities that he has to take on as the last known Jedi. He is clueless about the legacy of the Skywalker name. He doesn't know what it means to actually fail. It starts with Ben Kenobi. He opens him to a larger world and even the Force. We clearly see that in A New Hope, Luke doesn't get much time to think about what he's actually doing. He just does it, and it goes perfectly in line with how he blows up the Death Star. He just does it. However, in Empire Strikes Back, he begins to lose. In some cases, lose very, very badly. Right from the get-go, Luke is beaten up and captured by a Wampa. He almost dies on Hoth right then and there, even when he escapes. At the last second, Han Solo saves his life. The rebellion gets crushed, beaten up pretty badly, and in the last second, he escapes Darth Vader's grasp. Things continue with failure on Dagobah. He fails to lift the X-Wing. When he enters the cave, he sees that he could become Darth Vader himself. And just as he thinks he is ready and wants to face Darth Vader, he loses there pretty badly, even losing his hand and lightsaber. This is why Return of the Jedi is pretty genius and a bold move to go with all-black Luke Skywalker, because George Lucas knew what he wanted to do with him really well. Luke by now has through halfway through the hero's journey. He has now come back, but with new knowledge. The Luke Skywalker we see at Jabba's palace is radically different. He is mature. He is a little sinister, a lot more powerful. We see and feel his power effortlessly as he walks into the palace without us seeing a lot from it. Before he goes in guns blazing, he first wants to discuss and negotiate with Jabba before things go sour. What George Lucas really wanted to explain to us, to the audience, is that Luke's vision on Dagobah actually came true. When Vader and Luke are both on Endor talking to each other when he surrenders, both of them are wearing all black. They are both one and the same. However, one is with a helmet and one is exposed. We can see, touch him, feel Luke, see his eye movements, his disappointment in his father. And this is what Luke represents with his black clothes. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. He is Darth Vader's son. However, he represents what Luke will never become. He will never succumb to the dark side. That's why his face was left untouched. We can see Luke's face and we cannot see Vader's face. They're both wearing black but posing very, very different examples. It is only when Vader's face is exposed before he dies. This is the first time that Anakin talks to his son face to face. This is again going back to the example when both are wearing black but we can see their faces, and they are one and the same, father and son. Anakin has been redeemed. He is good. He killed the Emperor, fulfilled his prophecy with the help of his son Luke Skywalker. This is why I think Luke wearing all black in Return of the Jedi has a much bigger significance than I think most fans have thought about. Or perhaps I'm just overthinking things, but I would love to know what you guys think as well. Do you think there is something to what I'm saying, or have I just gone gaga for Star Wars? Talk to me down below.